All right, we're live. Hello, people of YouTube. Hold on one sec. Let me drag myself over to my other screen. It has been a hot minute since I did a live on YouTube. Actually, I don't remember the last time I did this. I only remembered because there were some already on my channel. But it took me a minute to even figure out how to get this thing running. But without further ado, I'm going to launch right into some questions from my Patreons, and then we'll just see who joins live while I'm doing this thing. So if we have a couple of people who want to say hey and ask a question or two live, then that's cool too. Oh, too funny. Somebody just said, "Happy birthday." Thank you. You and my hubby are almost birthday twins. He's on the 23rd. Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, so we have a very July-centric birthday family. So my birthday is the 21st, my dad's birthday is the 22nd, and my uncle's birthday is the 23rd. And so my dad and my uncle are just about 1 year apart, and they get to be the same age for 1 day. And then my uncle turns a year older the following day. So pretty wild. And then my mother-in-law's birthday is on the 16th. So yeah, very, very good month to be born, in my humble opinion. All right, let's see what questions we might have today. Also, clearly, I don't know how Patreon works because everybody sent these via a message, which works totally fine, but I thought that there was like a newsfeed feature. Okay. All right, this has got multiple sections, it looks like. So this person says, I, I'm so used to keeping things HIPAA secure and not sharing names that feels like the thing to do, but I'm pretty sure it's okay here on YouTube. So Akid has said, "Happy birthday. Thank you. Love your videos and your purpose. Here is a possible question for your birthday. You can only buy 10 items from the grocery store to cook with and meal prep for the rest of your life." The rest of my life. Oh man, this is like the desert island question gone to the extreme. Okay, so there are 10 items from the grocery store to cook with and meal prep with for the rest of your life. What would the 10 items be? Parentheses, you could go back to the store and buy more, but must be the same 10 items. I'm very interested to see what you would select for health and variety for your gut health. Oh my god, that's a really hard question. I started with a really hard one. Okay, but it's fun. Okay, so we have to have some sort of fat, right? So I'd probably just go with olive oil. I think that's a pretty versatile fat. I know that over here in the United States, we're told not to cook with olive oil, but then I have heard, maybe people can correct me who have been to Italy, but I've heard that if you go to Italy, like they do everything with olive oil, they deep fry, they cook with it. So I feel like I would go with olive oil first and foremost. So I had some sort of a cooking oil. Um, I would probably go for eggs as another kind of basic staple, and that way you're getting lots of choline, some B12, protein, and they're just tasty and they're really versatile for like cooking projects in general. Think about it, with eggs, you could do meringue, so you could have like a desserty kind of item. So I think that eggs are probably another one that I would do. Um, as far as a protein source, because I probably would want to do more vegetables in this case, for a protein source, I'd probably do some sort of a bivalve, like clams or mussels or oysters or something like that. They're really, really high in B12. They're really, really high in zinc and iron. They're a great source of protein, and I'm a huge seafood lover just in general. So I really don't think I would ever get tired of eating clams or mussels or something of that nature. So I think I covered some pretty solid nutritional bases with those three already. Um, for fruits, because I do think having some fruits and some vegetables would be really important if I was on this imaginary desert island with a grocery store. Um, I probably do at least one berry, maybe blueberries or blackberries or raspberries, something like that. I think I would do. And that way I've got a good fiber source. They're tasty. I think that would be one of them. And then I'd probably do something else that's um, like an apple or a peach. Like one of those two would probably make the list. And I think I'm up to the top 5. For those of you who might be tuning in right now, somebody asked the really tough question. If I had to stick with 10 items from the grocery store to cook with and prep food with for the rest of my life, what would those 10 items be? So I'm just currently noodling on what would my 10 items be? I don't know. So I'm up to 5. So I've got 2 fruits, a fat, and 2 protein sources so far. For vegetables, oh gosh. I feel like for me personally, I would do carrots just because like they're tasty, they're somewhat versatile. You can eat them cooked, you can eat them raw. We've got some beta carotene, we've got a little bit of fiber. I feel like carrots would be a good one to throw into the mix too. And I'd probably do some sort of a green. I feel like similarly, if we're going for this weird experiment, I think I would do spinach. It's not that I'm necessarily like a crazy spinach person on a day to day basis, but if you think about it, similarly, you could eat it raw, you could eat it cooked, you could put it in soups, you could do whatever with it. And it's really nutrient dense. Again, a lot of iron. So I think that spinach would probably make the list as well. I think I'm up to 7, right? 7. I don't know if I would do a grain, and this is the thing, I'm an omnivore, I do eat grains in my day-to-day life, but if I was stranded on a desert island or only able to eat 10 things for the rest of my life, I probably wouldn't choose a grain as one of those. Maybe a bean. I could see myself choosing chickpeas, though, and then you could make sorta like a hummus of sorts. Oh, and then how could I forget garlic, which you can't see because my microphone is obscuring it. Okay, so there's 2 right there. So chickpeas and garlic would probably make the list, and I think I'm left with one final item that I could get from this imaginary grocery store. I mean, salt and pepper, would that count? I don't know, like, how granular we're getting with this question, but if that is one of the 10 items, I would absolutely have to include salt and pepper. Hopefully, I can have both. Um, if not, gosh, if not, I don't know, maybe I would choose rice or something because rice is also pretty versatile. You could grind it up and make, like, a flour out of it, you could eat it as is, you could do, like, you could put it in soups and stuff, so maybe rice actually would round out the top 10. So, yeah, look, right out the gate, we have a very interesting and unique question. So, thank you, Akid. And look, we've got some folks. Oh, yeah, somebody said, "I couldn't find the community tab, but I have a couple of burning questions." Okay, yeah, share away. Let's see, happy birthday. Oh, we have another July birthday. Happy birthday to you too. Oh my gosh. So somebody noticed my shirt. Thank you, Jen, because I was going to show this at some point. So I got a birthday present for myself, and it is weird t-shirts. Let me lower my desk a little bit so you can take this in. Yes, it is a llama, and the shirt says "Llama Mia." I'm just so tickled by it. I found this and another shirt, which you'll see in some videos that I just recorded recently. They'll post, I think, in early August, but for one of my recent videos, I have a black t-shirt on from the same people, and it says, "Less haters, more taters." And I'm just cracking up over these 2 new shirts. My husband died when he saw this one. He thought it was pretty dumb, but I love it so much. Let's see. Raquel says, "Happy birthday, Dr. Neza." Thank you. "Your videos have helped me restore my stomach health." Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yay. That's really exciting to hear. I've heard, I love stories like that. I never get tired of hearing that. I've gotten some really nice emails and just some really nice messages on Instagram of people telling me that or sharing like snippets from Reddit threads where people credit me or my podcast and like Amy and I for helping them heal their gut. But that just makes me so happy. I'm so glad to hear that, Raquel. Yay. And thank you for the birthday wishes. All right, let's get into another few of these questions from Patreon. So, okay, so I answered the almost impossible question of what 10 items would I get from the grocery store for the rest of my life. Um, let's see, another. So the same person says possible video idea, general vitamin safety and tolerance. And for a possible video idea that would require a lot of research, but I've never seen such a chart. You can list the top 10 supplements you can buy at the store and rate the side effects for each one, relative safety of the supplements. Ooh, that is really interesting. That would take a lot of research. And it might be a little redundant. I don't know if that's entirely necessary. I guess if it was in a chart format, then it would be new and novel, but there are some really good resources out there for determining safety of supplements or like how to dose them and how to use them. So 2 of the ones that I will direct people to oftentimes, one of them is consumerlab.com, and it's a subscription service. I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks for the year. Totally worth it. So what they do is they do their own third-party independent testing on different herb and supplement products, and then they tell you, A, does it contain anything that's not safe, which you'd be surprised, sometimes that does come up. Number 2, it tells you the when you look at the amount of the thing listed in the label, does their testing match that? So maybe the label claims to have 500 grams of echinacea in it, but maybe it only has 300 when they tested it for real. So they do stuff like that. And they actually have a big long section in the beginning of every article all about the research and the research on humans and like what it helps with and what it doesn't help with and what the side effects were. And they update that all the time with new research. So I think that that probably already is somewhat being served by Consumer Lab, and it's a really great resource. Another one that sometimes I'll use or direct people to for just general how to use supplements and what they can do kind of stuff is examine.com. I know they have a paid part of their website, but I believe some of the information is available for free already on their website. You don't have to pay for it, but that could be a good resource as well. But interesting idea. One of my problems with YouTube right now is that I I mean, I'm not out of ideas per se. Like, I just think that I've covered a lot of the really low-hanging fruits in my mind. And now I have some really cool projects that I would love to work on for YouTube, but they're going to take a buttload of research. So, for example, GI biofilms. Everybody and their brother in these Facebook groups and on the SIBO internet wants to talk about biofilms. But when you actually get into the research, it's quite a bit more complicated and not nearly as impressive to talk about. A lot of the research on biofilms is done on things like catheters and meshes and inserted things and hardware and like intubation tubes. Basically, it's when the medical world puts something in our body for like a medical procedure or a life-saving procedure, they study biofilms to make sure that the catheter or the tube or the whatever doesn't grow a biofilm and potentially kill you. We actually have very, very little research on the GI microbiome and its biofilm making ability. So it's been a really hard one for me to try to tackle. And I kind of revisit it every now and then because basically when I'm searching on PubMed, I type in biofilm and gastrointestinal not, and then I have to include a lot of search words to exclude from the search. So it looks ridiculous. It'll be like biofilm and gastrointestinal, not catheter, tube, screw, implant, mesh. And then by the time I get through all of that, I've whittled it down to very little research. So I'm kind of trying to figure out a way to do the biofilm conversation justice and make it actionable and applicable to you guys while also being accurate and not overstating the importance of biofilms, which I think happens a lot in the IBS, SIBO, dysbiosis space. I think that a lot of resources on the internet are way overstating the importance of biofilms, or at least overstating what we know about biofilms. But I always love ideas for new videos. There's actually a survey. I don't know where you would find it now. I don't always link it, but every now and then I get the itch to share that survey. And that's a good way for me to get information from you guys and ideas for new topics. I wax and wane in my ability to keep up with YouTube comments. Sometimes I'm super on top of it, and then sometimes I just don't get a chance to moderate comments for months at a time. So leaving a comment on a video doesn't always get to me. I'll try to find that link later and share it with you guys. Let's see though. Let me get back because there's some people chatting away. Um, got some more happy birthday wishes. Thank you all. Let's see. Jen says, I took a biofilm disruptor and it really messed me up badly. Really? I have an autoimmune condition and I'm not sure if it flared something within me, but I've not healed completely since I took it. Dang. Okay. I'm curious, which one did you take? I feel like everybody and their brother uses the one from Claire, but there's also a couple of other ones. I think that if I'm going to use a biofilm disruptor, personally, I usually lead towards bismuth because that actually does have some pretty good quality research behind it versus like the ingredients in the Claire product. I don't really know how well researched that is. Biota Dissolve. Okay. It's a heck of a name. I'll have to look that one up. Let's see. Dennis asks, do I know of a reputable B12 supplement? The product I was using was discontinued. Yeah, honestly, I don't think that there's a lot of nuance to the B12 supplement conversation. I think for myself, I just take like a multivitamin once a day, and that has a pretty good amount of B12 in it. Keep in mind, too, you can always get B12 from food. It's going to be highest in the things that are also high in iron, typically. So think like red meat, bivalves, seafood in general, but like shellfish and bivalves especially are going to be really high in B12. Eggs have a kind of a moderate amount of B12. I actually had eggs for lunch today. Hold on. Let's see. I had 3 eggs for lunch today, and on my Chronometer app, that got me up to 96% of my daily value of B12. So I've almost hit the mark just with the eggs alone today. Um, so yeah, always food number 1, but oh my gosh, by the way, I did not plan this Q&A very well. I thought, "Oh, I'll shower and, like, get my hair all pretty before I hop on live," but I don't think I gave myself time to cool off, and now I'm melting. I'm physically melting right here before your eyes. So don't mind me as I like mess with my hair a whole ton. Um, if you want a separate B12 supplement and you're not talking about getting it through food necessarily, which I think is number one, and you're not talking about doing like a multivitamin or a B complex, there are liquids available that you could get. But honestly, I never use I tend to not use single vitamins and minerals very often. I would rather just hit all the bases with a multi or like a B complex. So, for what it's worth, I really like the Seeking Health multivitamins. That's what I tend to use a lot. They have a non-methylated one, so the B12 in that product would be a 50-50 split of hydroxycobalamin and adenosylcobalamin, which I think is nice. They have another one where I think it's a 50-50 split between adenylyl and methylcobalamin, if you feel like you do need that methylation support for whatever reason. But for most people, I think that the non-methylated, which I think they call like optimal multi well, hold on, actually. Okay, I can just tell you. So it's this one, multivitamin 1-MF, and MF stands for methyl free. This is one of the few things that I still stock, even though I work from home and I don't really have as much of a supplement apothecary like I did back in the day. But I stock that one in part because I use it myself. So it's just really convenient to pull it from my own inventory and write it off as an owner draw. But yeah, I like that one. Um, yeah, let's see. Oh, and Regina says, "Happy birthday. Your art behind you is very inspiring." Thank you. I don't know, you can't see quite all of them, but you'll definitely notice a FODMAP theme for most of them. The pineapple is the latest acquisition, and you can't really tell on camera, but they all have glitter somewhere on them. Let's see. Oh, hi, Stella from Canada. Is it worth it to test for heavy metals? I don't personally. Um, it's tricky. It's a tricky topic. I wouldn't say that I'm a detoxification expert necessarily. When I talk about detoxification, like in FODMAP Freedom, for example, I focus much more of the attention on how to avoid exposure to or avoid further exposure to these things, and a little bit less so on like the testing or how to pull them out. Because I think honestly, avoiding further exposure is probably more fundamental for most of us. But yeah, I don't really do heavy metal testing because then you start getting into this debate like, okay, do you do it in the hair? And if so, is hair accurate? I'm kind of skeptical of hair analysis personally. Then you get into, okay, are you going to do like either blood or urine? And if so, do you need to do a provocation beforehand? And if so, what kind of provocation do you do? Do you need to like basically a provocation means that you take something to stir it up and get it back into circulation? I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played around with it enough to really say one way or another if I think it's a good or a bad thing. I know some people swear by heavy metal testing, but I just haven't made it a big part of my practice personally. There's a lot we don't know, myself included. I also would not say I'm terribly skilled at talking about the cardiovascular system or the renal system. A lot of other systems I have a pretty good amount of knowledge on, brain, hormones, immune system, but cardiovascular and kidney physiology, I'm kind of on. Let's see. And then this same person on Patreon also said, let's see. Oh, they were just continuing that thought about doing the vitamin and mineral kind of safety chart. Okay, well, let's do another one from my Patreon folks. Okay, Maud says, hello, smiley face. Hello, Maud. Thanks for what you do. It's really fantastic. Oh, good. You're welcome. I have a question for the Q&A. Would there be an optimal timing to drink water and not interrupt the MMC, like an hour before meals or after or whatever? I know water's not supposed to interrupt, but I understand that distension could be a trigger. Also, what happens when the MMC is interrupted? Does it go back to the beginning? Thanks in advance and thanks for all that you do. Ooh, good question. Yeah, so I think the idea is that if the MMC is interrupted, it would kind of reset back to the first part of it. So there's 3 distinct parts of the MMC. The first the first portion of it doesn't really do much of anything. Number 2, not so much either, and then number 3 is really where the magic happens from, like, the cleansing of the bowel perspective. Um, and my understanding is that if you interrupt it in stage 2 or 3, it would go back to stage 1 and start all over again. You're, like, resetting the clock. For water, I've never known water to be a big trigger. I think that it's more important to stay hydrated than anything else. Now, I will say you don't want to overdo it on water at mealtime, and there's 2 reasons for this. Number 1 is it probably does dilute down your stomach acid if if I drank this whole water bottle and then immediately ate a meal, I probably would have very weak stomach acid and I wouldn't be able to digest that food, and it wouldn't be surprising if I got bloating and indigestion and didn't feel so good. So that's one reason. It's not to say you can't drink any water with a meal. I think that's impractical, but maybe keep it to you know, 4, 5, 6 sips, not an entire glass of water with your meal. So that's kind of framework number 1. The other thing to consider is, and I wish I could pull up the link, I'm not sure if I can, but there's a little bit of evidence that drinking a ton of water or a ton of liquids with your meal might make any glucose spikes higher. The glucose goddess on Instagram had a post about that. Let me see if I can find it actually. I might. I think I saved it. I briefly mentioned this and referenced that post in FODMAP Freedom recently because I'm re-recording it right now and adding a lot of new material, and I'm pretty sure I saved that one. Hold on. Don't mind the boredom as you look at the side of my head. All right, let's see. Where are you, glucose goddess? Thank God Instagram added the ability to make like albums and such. Here we go. All right. So here's that post. So it's titled Best and Worst Times to Drink Water. Again, this is on the Glucose Goddesses page. It was posted August 24th of last year, 2022. And basically, the gist is that it, if you drink a bunch of water or a lot of liquids with your meal, the ensuing glucose spikes are going to be that much higher and that much sharper. So just kind of minimize the amount of water you drink at mealtime. Keep it to a handful of sips, or if you take capsules or something, you could take enough to drink with your capsules, but kind of cool it and don't go wild. Let's see. Somebody said, fellow Cancer here. Yes, but can we talk about how we got ripped off with the name of our zodiac sign? How is it that we share a name with such a terrible disease? That does irk me just a little bit. But yes, I have a Cancer also. You know, it's funny too. I feel like I don't believe in the zodiac stuff, but I have to say, whenever I look at astrology stuff, like for fun on Instagram, everything about the Cancer, I'm like, darn it, they've got me pegged. So I kind of laugh at that quite a lot. Ooh, Jen said, would something like lemon water, fruit infused water, tea, or coffee interrupt the MMC? I remember you said stevia could. Yeah, there's maybe some evidence that stevia could. I think what it boils down to is, are you tricking your body into thinking that food is coming in? Because that's really what it boils down to. Your MMC starts to work when your body believes that there's no food coming in for a while. So if you were to drink something that had caloric value, like I'm picturing soda or something that tasted very sweet, like stevia, that could be sending mixed signals to the nervous system. And basically, you're telling your brain falsely, hey, there's food coming in. And then the response is going to be to not do the motility thing so much. So I could see, I don't know about lemon water or if it's plain tea or black coffee, I don't think that that would. I wonder if you put cream or sugar in the tea or the coffee, or if you put enough of the fruit flavor in an infused water. I kind of wonder if maybe it would. But here's the thing, like sometimes in this world, we, and by we, I mostly mean you guys, get so um like, you try to get so granular, right? Like, you kind of seem a lot of you seem like you crave rules and, like, "Yes, you're allowed to do this. No, you're not allowed to do this." And I don't know if it's that black and white, honestly. Like, I don't think it's that clear cut. I think that it's more of a game of probability. In my mind, it's not very probable that plain water would disrupt the MMC, so I would say go for the gold. But when you start to get into, like, mocha frappuccinos and, like, really calorically dense beverages, even though it is a liquid, I still hypothesize that that would turn off the MMC because your brain is perceiving that liquid as food. And I think that there's shades of gray in between where the probability is not 100% and it's not zero, but we don't really know the answer. So, personally, what I would feel comfortable with from the standpoint, if you are trying to optimize this, I would say black coffee, black tea, water, lemon water, fruit infused water. I feel like those would all be okay. When you start getting into, again, like really powerful sweet tastes like stevia, or, soda, something like that, I that's where I'm starting to think, yeah, that might disrupt things. And when you get into like Starbucks frappuccinos and beverages that are really calorically dense, then I would think the probability is almost certain that you're going to disrupt the MMC. But I'll share something too, you guys. Like I shared this in a video not that long ago, maybe like 2 months ago. I did a video about hypoglycemia and the MMC, and basically what I shared in there was that if you had to pick blood sugar versus the MMC and which one to prioritize, you've got to prioritize blood sugar. And I shared that when I was going through my gut healing journey, which was like IBS-D, lots and lots of bloating, like somebody actually asked me if I was pregnant when I was not pregnant. I lived the nightmare firsthand for real. Ironically, it was at a functional medicine seminar. Like I should have just told her, no, it's my leaky gut baby. But I didn't think to do that at the time because I was just mortified. But the nature of my symptoms, I think that if SIBO breath testing was popular at that time, I probably would have been told that I had SIBO. Now, notice I'm not saying I would have been diagnosed with SIBO, and I'm not saying that I think I had SIBO. I think that, again, SIBO is very overdiagnosed right now, and breath tests are not accurate. If you want to see why, just go back on my channel a few videos. I have videos detailing that. But I think that I was in the same place that many of you are in. And I think that I could have received the label of SIBO, accurate or not. I think that I probably would have been in that same boat. But nobody was talking about SIBO at the time, first of all. And nobody times nobody was talking about the MMC. Nobody, even in the functional medicine space, I was going to 3 and 4 day conferences and seminars about gut health in the functional medicine community. And I thought it was cutting edge. And literally nobody talked about SIBO ever in those seminars. This was like 2010. So none of us knew about the MMC. None of us knew that we needed to care about the MMC. And guess what I was doing all this time when I was trying to heal my gut? I was eating 6 small meals a day because back in the day, we were told that that was good for your blood sugar. And even in functional medicine, we were taught that that was good and healthy to do. But I was able to heal my gut without modifying that eating pattern. So I theoretically should never have healed my gut, right? Because I was eating a small meal basically every 3 hours. And looking at that now, you would go, oh my God, that girl doesn't have any MMC waves. Oh my God, how could she heal her gut? But I'm telling you, I did. I healed my gut while I was still eating that way. And it wasn't until after I felt better and I accidentally skipped some snacks that I realized, oh, I don't need to do this anymore. Cool. And then I went down to 3 meals a day. So I don't know if it's worth totally stressing out about the MMC and like what beverages you're allowed to consume. I'm looking for a hair tie, by the way. I am still positively melting. I'm gonna have to go get a dang scrunchie. My gosh. But anyway, I hope that that alleviates some stress for you guys. Because again, I know that this comes up pretty often in the SIBO world. Okay, let's see if I could be creative here. Because I don't want to leave you to go get a scrunchie. All right, this is my Our Neighbor Totoro pencil. You can't see it, but it's got acorns. And can I do a bun pencil? Ha ha! Pretty good, huh? Haven't done that in a long time. not since high school. But yeah, I hope that that helped. Let me look at the comments and see if anybody weighed in. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I think Yoda Mom asked if chewing the gum would interrupt the MMC. I'm not sure. Maybe? Because now you've got the flavor of the gum as well as the chewing action, and both of those things would probably tell your body that food is coming in. So I feel like that, again, thinking about it as probability, I would lean more towards probably that would disrupt the MMC. But again, I don't know if we know. I'm not sure if that's actually been researched yet. Maybe yes. Maybe I just haven't seen that. Let's see. So I accidentally answered one of Maud's other questions, so that worked out well. Let's see, I've got another one from Patreon here. Okay, Jessica says, I absolutely love the information you provide. Well, good. I'm glad. I listen to the IBS Freedom podcast faithfully, watch all your videos. Okay, hold on. Let me just skim. Um, okay. In addition to altering my diet, I've been working on top down things like meditation, re engaging with things I love, and even talk therapy. It's been several months and I've not seen any improvement. What else could I be doing wrong? Or what else could I think that was a typo, but what else could I be doing wrong? Even if you didn't pick this to discuss, I hope you'll keep up the great work. Well, that was very sweet of you, first of all. Um, it's really hard for me to answer that without knowing more about her case. And this is where I was suggesting earlier, like if you send in questions, try to keep them more broad. So like, yeah, I don't know. Um, it could be that there's unresolved trauma even. I know this person said that they were doing talk therapy. It could be that they have a relationship in their life that's really weighing them down, like a really unsupportive spouse or a loved one that's very stressful to deal with. It could be that their job is incredibly demanding and that's a chronic stress that's keeping them out of rest and digest. It could be something more like medically oriented going on, like maybe there's some dysbiosis or candida overgrowth that hasn't been identified yet. It's really hard to say though with in this setting. So hopefully when she sees this, she understands. Um, yeah, yeah. And I'm just skimming the rest of her question. I don't think I can really answer it though. I wish I could help. All right, let's look at the comments here because maybe I can help some of you folks though. Let's see. What's your favorite SIBO emo adaptogen for people with salicylate intolerance? That's quite the question. So I'm going to preface it by saying first, I'm not an expert on salicylates. So I actually don't have the slightest idea which of my herbs contain salicylates and which do not. So I, I kind of can't answer the question with that being said. However, the question of what is my favorite adaptogen for people with SIBO or emo, um, it depends on the person. So let me give you a for instance. And we did just realize not that long ago that we haven't done an adaptogen episode on the podcast yet, which is bonkers. We've talked about nervines, but we haven't talked about adaptogens. I'm going to go down, by the way. On the way down, please admire my shirt. For those of you who were not here earlier, yes, it says La Mia. This was a birthday present to myself. Um, so for something like an adaptogen, this is a really great example of this. But I'm going to preface it by saying when I got into functional medicine, I was quite enchanted by, the herbs and the supplements and stuff that we use. And functional medicine's entire shtick is that we base it on the person in front of us and it's all tailored to the person in front of us. But when you get down to it, most practitioners seem like they have a favorite adaptogen blend, a favorite leaky gut blend, a favorite probiotic that they recommend to literally everybody. And that's not how it works. This is why I can't really publish videos like that, even though I know that they would get a million gazillion hits. If I made a video that said like the best probiotic for SIBO or, the best herb for IBS or the best herb for bloating, the internet would eat that up. But I can't make videos like that because I don't think that's how it works. I feel like we need to base recommendations on the individual person. And here's one example. Theoretically, with adaptogens, which is this group of herbs that can help our body process and cope with stress more effectively. We've got a handful of different adaptogens, so we could think of things like ginseng, ashwagandha, rhodiola, eulithro, aka Siberian ginseng, schizandra. Um, Most people would say holy basil. That one's kind of iffy though. But we have this whole big list of adaptogens. And theoretically, we could go on PubMed and we could Google and look up which ones have been proven to be good for GI function or motility or the pancreas or whatever it might be. But I don't think that's how it works. So when I look at adaptogens, here's what I do instead. I will ask people questions like, when you're super stressed, do you have difficulty sleeping? When you're super stressed, does that take on like an anxiety flavor for you? Like, do you feel really anxious or even like palpitations or chest tightness? When you're super stressed, do you have really racy thoughts? Like a voice in your mind that just won't shut up and is like, oh my God, you didn't do this. Oh my God, what about the consequence of that is going to be terrible. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Do you have low normal immunity? Like when you're super stressed, do you catch colds and flus super easily? Or do you just know about yourself that your white blood count tends to be kind of lowish? I would consider, has the person ever been diagnosed with something like NAFLD, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or is there any sign of liver compromise? And why I would do this is that you could view it through the lens of getting two birds with one stone. So any of these herbs can be adaptogenic, but I also know that Schizandra is very hepatoprotective. So for somebody who has liver compromise, or has been diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, I'm going to pick Shizandra because then we get the benefit of the adaptogen and the benefit of being good for the liver. Versus same situation, somebody wants to go on an adaptogen. Well, what if they struggle with a lot of anxiety and that's a really dominant pattern for them and they get like panic attacks even? I'd probably lean more towards ashwagandha because ashwagandha does have some research showing us that it has an anxiolytic effect. It relieves anxiety. Another, for instance, and this one's actually what I take, if somebody said to me, "Yeah, when I get stressed, I get sick really easily," or I happen to know this about myself that I tend to have kind of low normal white blood cell counts, then I might choose something like Siberian ginseng because I know that that can help strengthen immunity. And I've noticed this with blood work on my own that when I take Eulithro Siberian ginseng, it makes my white blood cell count and my differential on my CBC look beautiful. But if I discontinue taking it, it goes back to what my normal baseline is. So I guess that's the best way I could explain it. I don't have a favorite adaptogen. I don't even think that one adaptogen would be better for the gut necessarily. It's just it kind of depends on the context of what else is going on with the person, and then that helps inform my decision process. Also, you could factor in things like how you would take it, and compliance, that sort of thing too. So, for example, ashwagandha is great. It does smell pretty rank. It's not as bad as some herbs, but it is pretty rank. So if you were to have somebody make like a milk beverage, which is kind of more traditional for ashwagandha, if you were going to put the powder in like milk and make a beverage that way, um, you might want to ask if the person's really picky about tastes and smells and such. Shizandra has a very distinct, very powerful taste as well. So if you did like a liquid or a powder of Shizandra, you would want to give people a heads up on that. Um, Korean ginseng, red ginseng, I would usually use that as a tincture, but you have to get a really high proof alcohol. It has to be like 95 proof to actually extract anything out of the ginseng. So that's just really off-putting to some people, myself included. So I probably wouldn't be compliant, even if you did tell me to take red ginseng personally. So there's stuff like that to consider too. Let's see. Somebody said, I'm about 8 weeks into my natural Candida SIBO protocol and on low FODMAP, 2 weeks on probiotics, Saccharomyces boulardii, and I started a tablespoon of kefir, still quite bloated, trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel. My root cause was food poisoning and mold exposure. Oh, mold's the worst. I mean, I know food poisoning is the worst too, but as somebody who lives in the southeastern United States where it is humid as all get out all the time, oh, mold. Um, yeah, I guess, there wasn't so much a question necessarily here, but, I would say if you haven't already focused on motility a bit, I think that that could be a really good addition. I've been telling you people about the miracle that is Prokinetics for I don't even know how long at this point. And let me go and look. I'm going to tease you all and wag my finger for a second. I've been telling you people about how friggin' miraculous Prokinetics are. And when I did a survey not that long ago, let me find it. Hold on. I did it. Yeah, okay. I did a survey and I asked, have you ever tried herbal Prokinetics? This was a month ago. 25% of you said, yes, they helped me. Another chunk, 30% said, yes, meh. 5% said, tried them, hated them for whatever reason. But then 41% of you said, not yet, thinking about it. Guys, if you've been diagnosed with SIBO, or if you have bloating as a dominant symptom or indigestion, that feeling like the food just sits in your gullet like a brick of lead and does not move, please get a prokinetic. It will help you. It's just a matter of figuring out which one. And that's why I do the prokinetic speed dating with my FODMAP freedom students and my one-on-one patients, because sometimes it does take a little bit of playing around with and trying multiple products, but they're wonderful. And you could start with the fan favorite, and there's a 50-50 shot that it's going to be helpful, and that's Motility Activator. So, not sponsored. I don't get money from them, just for what it's worth. But Motility Activator still is the leader in this race that I keep track of in a big Excel spreadsheet. It seems like about 45 or 50% of people are still choosing Motility Activator all these years later. So for the 41% of you who haven't tried a Prokinetic yet, go get one. All right, let's see. Let's see. Adam is talking about some Chinese herbs that I'm not as familiar with. Hold on. Interesting. He said artichoke and ginger didn't, and 5-HTP didn't help his motility much at all. But he said Chinese rhubarb root, magnolia bark, and bitter orange really helped my MMC. Good tidbit. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not super well versed on two of those three. Magnolia, I know that Magnolia has some anxiolytic effect. There's a combo product. It's Magnolia and one other ingredient that escapes me at the moment. It's the kind of like brand name of it is Relora, Relora. Yeah, Relora. Relora. So I could see that helping motility, because really just getting your motility working again sort of just boils down to getting your gut brain axis to work again. So anything that is helpful for the brain or brain health or decreases anxiety or improves mood might work on the gut brain axis to some extent. So that doesn't super surprise me knowing that about Magnolia. But yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. Christian asked, what can I do to solve salicylate intolerance? I don't know. That is one area where I'm not an expert. I'm sorry. I think that part of it, honestly, is I, on some level, have refused to look into it a tremendous amount, because I know damn well that all of my beloved herbs and all of my beloved vegetables have salicylates in them. And I can't imagine a world where I told people not to use those things. So I'm kind of just not tackling the salicylate thing. Right now, I have bigger fish to fry anyway. So yeah, sorry, I don't have expertise in that arena. Let's see. All Him With Me says, no, wait, did I get your first name right? Hold on. I have a thing on my phone to totally cheat. Totally cheat. Where is it? I'm pretty sure I asked you for your first name recently, so I could address you by your first name. Wait for it. Care. Hi, Care. I saved your name somewhere. All right. Care says, my root cause of my histamine intolerance ultimately was grief over my dog's long illness during and her passing after we put her down. It wrecked me from the inside out. Oh my God. I can only imagine. I was a hot mess when we lost, especially our first dog, Ralphie. I totally sympathize. I'm so sorry. 6 months of intermittent fasting and longer fasting, along with super clean, low histamine diet, got me back on track, but not without having joy back in my heart. That's the part Dr. DiNezza told me, and so true. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad that you figured that part out. It's huge. And think about it this way, too. Your mast cells are like little sentinels, and they're just waiting at your barriers, like your gut barrier, your skin barrier. They're just waiting for stuff to come try to attack you. and they're waiting to defend you. Their entire job is to protect you. The key is that they're protecting you from perceived threats, not necessarily real threats, perceived threats. And sometimes those little buggers will perceive a threat that's not really a threat. So something like grief, and when you're just absolutely dysregulated and you don't know up from down because you're going through something like grief, it doesn't surprise me that your mast cells were all like, oh my God, how do we protect her going through this? I don't even know where the boogeyman is. So I could see that being the case. Certainly stress chemistry like cortisol is one of the biggest driving forces with degranulating mast cells and telling them to out all of their guts. So that doesn't surprise me, but I'm glad that you figured that out. Frederico says happy birthday. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, hold on. Was this a continuation that M Llama? Did you see, by the way, my Llama Mia shirt? How perfect is that? So would green refer to bacteria or fungus or both? If you have an idea, thanks. I don't know what you're referring to, M Llama. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I missed another thing up top. Hold on. Yeah, the only thing I see from you is happy birthday, which thank you. But then the second one, I don't understand the question. Sorry. Um, Christian, you have many questions about salicylate intolerance, but I'm sorry, my friend, I'm not an expert in that specific topic. Let's see. Is there a microbiome test that shows what is in the small intestine only? There is. Nobody's going to want to do it. You would have to do an aspirate. You would have to go in there physically. You would not be able to do that with stool testing. Yeah. I have had some people do this. What's really bizarre, though, I had one guy that he went to a GI doctor. I don't remember where, but he went to a GI doctor who did a small bowel aspirate and then sent the aspirated juice in a GI map test kit. And like, so we got this test result back with all the bacteria, but it was from his small bowel, not a stool sample. And I was deeply confused by that. And I wouldn't recommend anything like that. Like we ended up not really using that piece of information all that much. I thought it was very bizarre. But it's important to know that if you tried to do a workaround like that, um, so any sort of stool test, so whether it's Genova or the GI map or uh, BiomeFX, whatever it might be, their reference ranges are set with the assumption that you are sending in stool. So if you were to send in something else like vaginal secretions or small bowel aspirated juices or a big old chunk of boogers, it's going to look way different. And a lot of stuff is going to be out of range, not because that's abnormal for that ecosystem, but because their reference ranges are set with the assumption that you are sending in stool. And it was kind of like I got that piece of information when this guy started working with me. And I was like, I don't think we can use this even. Like, this is not how this tool is supposed to be used. So anyway, I tried to doodle on it the best I could, but I ended up not really using that information. But yeah, you would have to get an aspirate. Adam asks, what do I think about LDN for motility? It's helped some people for sure. I don't prescribe, so keep that in mind. I can't really speak to prescriptions all that much, but I've had a few patients who are taking LDN and they think that it's helpful. I know one woman in particular who had like post-infectious IBS type stuff, and she had tried the herbal Prokinetics. She was one of the few people who went through my speed dating process, and none of them really helped her, but she ended up really liking LDN, so that worked out. Let's see. I'm going to kind of jump around a little bit here because I've got to wrap up shortly. The hour flew by. My gosh. But I have a sick kiddo who's home from school. Off to a rip roaring start with the beginning of the school year. She's was coughing a lot last night. We thought that was weird. And then this morning she woke up and was still coughing. So I've got to go check on her momentarily. But let's see. Kara said, I have a love-hate relationship with my mast cells, but a love, love, love with you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Are you able to put the link for the Prokinetic I mentioned? If you just search my channel for the word Prokinetic, you'll find a video. Well, actually, let me find it. I'll point you to a video instead that talks about the prokinetic speed dating a bit. Hold on. Prokinetic. And then you can get more of the context behind that. Okay, so there's my 2020 research update on prokinetics, and that's from my own experimentation with my patients and having them do the speed dating program. Um, I need to do an updated version of that video probably in the near future, but I haven't gone through all my patient charts and dug up all the data because I fell behind on my Excel spreadsheet. But I do have updated information eventually to share. Right now, last I knew, motility activator was still the winner. Let's see. Christian has an interesting question. Is it possible to solve mast cell activation syndrome with only meditation? Maybe. I'm going to send you another link. Hold on. I'm pretty sure I know how to get it. Okay, yes. So there was a YouTube video slash podcast. It's 12 years old. No, 8 years old. So it's an oldie but goodie at this point, for YouTube at least. Watch that. That is a really interesting interview. So this guy is interviewing the woman who was formerly called, she passed away, but she was called the Low Histamine Chef. And she was kind of the authority in the nutrition functional medicine space on mast cells and histamine. And she was very, very, very sick. She had a lot of histamine issues, anaphylaxis. She almost died multiple times from reactions to foods. And she, in that video, when she's talking about her story and her experience, she largely credits meditation for her healing. And she talks about at one point, I think it's midway through the video, she talks about how when she was at the height of her illness, she almost died and almost went into full-blown anaphylaxis from a single strawberry. And then years later, she was able to eat an entire bowl of strawberries, and she credits meditation for that. She also makes a point to say, like, don't be stupid. You need to, you know, be safe when you try to reintroduce foods, and that could potentially have gone south. So she was safe. I believe she had a doctor like right there in the room with her when she did this experiment. But yeah, check that out. It's a really interesting interview. Yeah. Yeah. Kara says, I got my food lists on for histamine from her and her mast cell activation site. Yeah, she died of breast cancer. You're right. Yeah. She just seemed like such a great person. Yeah, her whole site is fantastic. She has a lot of resources on there for free, for that matter. All right, let's see. I think let's do one more hurrah. Yeah, she was a light. One more hurrah. Let's see. M Llama has elaborated. Yeah, lost the first part of that one for sure. All right, M Llama says, my poop after long-term extreme stress and meditation. My gut completely released. I felt the weight of the world lift off my shoulders. Anyways, the chunks of poop that came out afterward had a green tint. Okay, now that makes a little bit more sense. Would that be bacteria, fungus, or both? Okay. Green poop is usually thought to be one of two things. Either you're eating a truly obscene amount of green leafy vegetables, which occasionally that'll pop up with vegans, especially. I'm talking, somebody who's eating just like buckets upon buckets of spinach and salad and leafy greens every day as a staple in their diet. So it could actually be chlorophyll, believe it or not. Shy of that, it could be bile. That's what I would assume, more so than anything microbial. The way you can kind of play with that and see if that is the case is tinker with increasing and decreasing your fat in your diet and see what happens. If you do have some bile acid making it through into the stool and it's turning your poop green, then theoretically, if you lower your fat content in your diet for a little bit, your gallbladder won't need to release quite as much bile. And then that should improve that coloration issue. Versus if you crank up the fat in your diet and go, more towards keto, for example, if you do a high fat diet for a couple days or a week, then that might make the poops even more green. Again, you could kind of play with that, but that would be at least a rough and dirty way to try to assess that on your own. Um, then Adam says, "Is taking ox bile, digestive enzymes at the same time good idea?" Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay. The thing is, I guess, like, what's going on that you would need all that support? I was just redoing some lectures for FODMAP Freedom, which, side note, I so my time management skills bit me in the butt. I have known for a couple months that I was gonna re-record FODMAP Freedom and add a bunch of new content and add a bunch of new protocols and research and stuff, and I procrastinated and dragged my feet on it and found other things to keep me busy until about July 1st, and then I realized, "Oh god, I have to start working on this." So anyway, now it's like this frantic just staying up late at night, not practicing what I preach, trying to get all these recordings done, and it's coming along fantastically. I'm really excited for it, but I just today was working on my HCl lecture. Instead of playing whack-a-mole and taking bile and enzymes and kinda hitting both of those, revisit the idea of betaine HCl if you haven't done so already, because you might be able to knock 2 birds out with 1 stone if you just take betaine HCl. Remember that you need stomach acid to go into the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine, and that's what triggers the response from the gallbladder and the pancreas. So, it's a twofer. Let's see. One more hurrah. Christian asks, "What do I think about the carnivore diet?" Yeah, that's a loaded question. I think I'm probably gonna get some sort of comments from this, I'm sure. Um, well, let me phrase it this way. Right now, I'm working with a guy who tried the carnivore diet, and he swears up and down. He mentions every single time we meet that doing the meat only diet ruined his gut. So, like anything else in the internet, you're going to see a lot of testimonials. You're going to see a lot of influencers saying how this thing was the greatest thing since sliced bread for them, but you don't always hear the drawbacks or the risks. And looking at his case, I could see why he tried carnivore for a while, but it's like now he hasn't been able to recover his gut health since that point. Like, his bloating went from being pretty mild to just off the charts. He's said before that prior to doing carnivore for, I forget if it was like a month or 2 or 3 or what it was, but prior to doing that, he had really good efficacy from probiotics and prebiotics, and he was getting a lot of mileage out of those things. After the carnivore diet, he is finding that he's not really getting any mileage out of those 2 things, or it's very, like, hit and miss weird reactions now when he tries it. So, we're kind of trying to undo the damage from the carnivore diet, honestly. Now, for every person like that, there probably is another person who says, "It's the best thing ever. Hooray, it cured me. I'm gonna eat this way for the rest of my life." So, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't say I'm an expert in the carnivore diet because I'm I'm very reluctant to put somebody on that crazy of a diet. Even if it works, even if it could work for them, I'm kind of in the headspace that there's probably something else that could work for them if we keep searching. I don't think that it's the only answer in the cases where it does work. So, yeah, I hope that that helped. Hold on a second now. Hmm. So I was looking at Patreon. I'm making sure that I got all the messages from there, but it was doing a weird notification thing, but that's okay. I did. Um, Yeah, so Carrot points out, "What about gut diversity with all meat?" Yeah, I worry about that. I worry that it would tank your diversity like crazy. To be clear, it wouldn't get rid of the entire microbiome because there are some bacteria that do perfectly fine eating animal protein and animal fat. So, like, you would still have bacteria, but the thing is, and part of why I don't fully wrap my head around this as a modality is, from what I've seen at least, the good guys seem to like fiber. So Firmicutes, Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, which is in a different phylum, the butyrate producers, all of them seem to really like fiber and plants versus proteobacteria, which is like Klebsiella, Pseudomonas, E. coli, H. pylori, like all of the bad guys that we demonize. They belong to a phylum that seems to really do well on saturated fat. And then we have this other phylum, Bacteroidetes, which they're not super inflammatory, but they're not really good for you either. They're just kind of neutral, chilling out. That group is the one group that can really consume animal protein very efficiently, but they are mildly inflammatory. So, like, I don't know. I think that probably what happens, and I would love to get my hands on some like before and after stool testing to see if this is true. What I think probably happens is that you start to whittle down your Firmicutes and you start to get a blossoming or a blooming of Bacteroidetes in particular, but also Proteobacteria when you go only meat. So that's we're still waiting for that patient stool testing to come in. So I haven't seen his yet. And he has been eating plants again for the last 6 months or so. So his is not exactly going to show me what his microbiome was like when he did do carnivore. But yeah, those are some of my concerns at least. Um, yeah. All right, guys. Well, it is about 4 o'clock. I'm so glad that people joined me. I was worried that nobody would join me. You never know with these live things. Um, let's see. Raquel, girl after my own heart. Yep. Dark chocolate. Also, I have a big old block of 72% Trader Joe's, one of their Pound Plus bars, and that is my go-to treat as well. So we're twins in that regard. Thank you. Thanks. Yep. And best, like I said, she's got a bit of a cough. She's thrilled because she gets to watch TV all day and just hang out and be a potato on the couch. But I'm going to go make another cup of tea for her. I've got her drinking some mullein and marshmallow root tea. So hopefully that helps calm down the cough soon. Kara said my vice is 6 ounces of red organic wine. Yeah. Yeah, I try. I try. All right. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It was nice to spend my birthday with you guys. I am going to go put my hair up properly and take out this pencil out of my hair now that I could go finally get a scrunchie. I will see you back here on YouTube. I'm trying to think what my next video is. To give you a snapshot. I think the next video is how long do you need to stay on a prokinetic, if I remember correctly. So keep your eyes posted for that. I've got a new video coming out every Thursday. Hopefully I can keep that going even through the FODMAP Freedom launch. Like I said, though, my time management skills got the best of me, so I might just need to be doing double time on FODMAP Freedom stuff for a little while, which means I might miss an upload or two in the month of August. I'm not really sure yet. It kind of depends. But either way, I will see you around YouTube or Instagram if you're on Instagram. And I thank you for tuning in and spending a little bit of my birthday with me. Bye.